Greetings everyone, my name is Shiv and we're back with even more Knights of the Frozen Throne reveals. We've got a bunch more today thanks to Day 9 and Mike Place. Alright, so let's get to it. Shortly after the last video I did, a couple more cards came out, so we're going to cover those first. So here we go. First one we have is Howling Commander. Yes, Howling Commander. Beautiful cards, the 3-mana 2/2 Battle Cry. Draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. Okay, so it's Paladin. Gee. What Paladin card has Divine Shield that people would like to have on demand? I mean, I really can't think of one specific card that comes to mind, you know. Not a single card here. But yeah, you know, maybe Tyrion. Logically, Tyrion is going to be the #1 frontrunner of grabbing for this card. In many ways, this acts kind of like the Arcanologist does in Mage. It draws a very important card when you need it, as well as it kind of cycles and thins out your deck a little bit. So that's actually pretty damn good. It kind of is. So I think this is actually a pretty strong card in almost all non-Murloc builds moving forward for Paladin. I think we're definitely going to see this card being played. Alright, moving on to the next card. We've got Venomous Trap. Yes, a new secret for hunters. 2-mana secret. When one of your minions is attacked, summon a poisonous cobra. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. You can technically get an Emperor Cobra for 2 mana now. Okay, so do I think this will actually be put in decks? Some people will play around with it a little bit, but for the most part, probably not. But where I think we're going to see this pop up a lot is off of any type of Secret Hunter moving forward, considering they've got some new tools now to really make that deck a little bit stronger, and the fact that it's going to be putting random secrets into play. Venomous Trap is definitely one of those secrets that's going to benefit from that. So it definitely, I have a feel this is going to come in more via RNG than actual constructed design. But I could be wrong on it. This could be an amazing secret moving forward, having something that can basically knock out a 3-mana taunt instantly. Gee, what 3-mana taunts are heavily played right now? So yeah, I definitely like the card. I really do. The fact of the matter is, Cobras are beasts. Beasts can get buffed up by a myriad of things, so on and so on and so on. So there's definitely some really good value on this. Interesting side note, though, it does not redirect the attack to the Poisonous Cobra. It's just going to summon in the Poisonous Cobra, all right? So keep that in mind. If it redirected to that, this card would be broken as fuck. Holy shit, it would be broken as fuck. But it doesn't, so we don't have to worry about that. Moving on, we've got Shadowblade. Now, this is a rogue card. Now, if you remember the other day, I said, yeah, you know, Leeching Poison's garbage because, you know, the best, you know, rogue can possibly get off it is 3, and even then you got to face tank damage and blah, 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 blah. I just don't really see it as a good card. So, almost as if in response to that, here comes Shadowblade. 3-mana, 3/2, Battlecry. Your hero is immune this turn. Now, going back to what I said about Leeching Poison, I still think it's a bad card. Yes, it's a little bit less bad because of Shadowblade, but at the same time, I just feel like it's not overly viable. Yay, I get the ability of not taking damage a turn. That on its own is perfectly fine. Wasting 2 mana and a card slot to also heal me back for 3 does not seem overly that good. Yes, I know that on the next attack I could also get another 3, so really it's 2 for 6 if you want to look at it, but not really. Alright, that's not how I'm looking at it in any way, shape, or form, and I just kind of feel like Leeching Poison is still bad even with this card. This card on its own is actually pretty damn good. It's got some decent arena value, as well as could see a reinvigoration of the concept of Tempo Rogue. Will it though? We'll have to wait and see. Moving on, we have Snow Flipper Penguin, a 0-mana 1/1 beast, ladies and gentlemen. Beast. That is actually going to be somewhat important moving forward. It is a beast. Okay, so yes, it's cute, it's adorable, it's 0 cost, so you can put this in any damn deck, really doesn't matter. In Hunter, though, you get a little bit more advantage out of it, considering you could play this with, say, Starving Buzzard, and oh, look at that, on turn 5, you could possibly draw 2 cards, have a 3/2 and 2 1/1s all at the same time. Is this a really good use for that deck? Probably not, because it's already got a flaw of having Starving Buzzard in it. But they are beasts, which means all the normal, typical hunter shenanigans do apply. Outside of that, it's just kind of cute. Interesting side note, now there's another option for when your opponent devolves one drop minions, you will possibly get a Snow Flipper Penguin. So that could be relevant in certain games. All right, keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get on to the next card. We've got Defile Warlock. 2 mana, deal 1 damage to all minions. If any dies, cast again. When I saw this card, and I was watching at the same the Day 9 broadcast, and the moment the card popped up, I read the text. Almost immediately at the same time, both me and Day 9 were going, oh, like eyes were turning into fucking anime, and the possibilities of this just blew through my fucking head. I started realizing, holy shit, Possessed Villager on turn 1 means I can completely fuck any board state on 2. This card screams fuck tokens, alright? We've seen a lot of token decks be coming to fruition lately that have just pretty much been very, very punishing. It also really screws with the early game of a Pirate Warrior. It doesn't completely destroy it, but it really does screw with it. So for me, I think that this card is fucking long overdue. We've been seeing this trend where Warlock can't play a Zoo type deck anymore because it's just not getting anywhere near the value it used to. Truth be told, when it came to aggressive decks, Pirate Warrior kicked the shit out of Zoo. Zoo had a little bit better mid and late game plays against other decks, but it just could not compete against the masses of the Pirate Warriors that were existing. Well, now with Defile coming into the game, as well as some other cool choices through many other classes, I have a feeling that the value of Pirate Warrior and some of the other aggressive decks is going to drop significantly. There are a lot of options moving forward that are going to punish those spam aggro token decks and basically leave them with no options moving forward. And I think that this is just another sign that the concept of token is going to be dying away in future metas. Personally, I love the card. If I could somehow figure a way of putting lifesteal on this, it would be fucking great. Interesting side note, obviously Possessed Villager has some really cool value on this, but if your opponent, depending on what you're playing up against on your opponents, you could get some interesting value on this as well. So I'll give you an example here. Let's say you have a Possessed Villager on turn 1. They're going into their turn 1. They decide to coin out a, let's say, Kindly Grandmother. Okay, this is perfect. Beautifully perfect. Alright, so you hit the Defile, boom. You're going to kill off your Possessed Villager, you're going to kill off the Kindly Grandmother, it's going to play again. Now it's going to kill off your Possessed Villager, do 1 damage to the 3/2 of the Kindly Grandmother, and it's going to go off again, boom. Yeah, you kill your own board, but you deny them having any significant board, and you really didn't have to do much for it. Now, this was a very simplified application, not probably the best application for it, but you kind of get where we're going here, right? Playing this in conjunction with, say, a Blood Mage Thanos is actually some really interesting value. That is literally a 4 mana, 3 damage AoE at minimum. Minimum, because it's going to get its 2nd pulse. And if it kills something else there, then you're looking at its 3rd pulse, right? So at that point, you're looking at 4, and it is a good possibility you might get a 5th one there. So if you're going to be using Defile, I think you really have to look hard at Blood Mage Thanos, just because you're always going to get that increased value from it. Not to mention the fact, because it's Blood Mage Thanos, you're going to get to draw a card from it too. So, I mean, that's kind of a win-win scenario in my book. All in all, I think Defile is probably one of the best cards I've seen in the set to date. And I honestly think that this might be a really good indication that Warlock is coming back into competitive meta. All right, let's move on. We've got Spreading Plague. Now, previously I just said that it's kind of feeling like the age of tokens might start be dying out. There's a minor exception and a minor agreement with that, and that is this card. So if you're up against a token deck, boom, you play this out, you're going to shred off almost everything that they have because they're going to be trading heavily into all your taunts. This is basically unleash the taunts for all intents and purposes. But unlike, you know, the previous one that we had for Warrior, Protect the King, this one actually has some decent life to where it can actually live. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway on that. Now, here's the other fun stuff with that. As you can see, it comes down on 5, so obviously, whatever's left over when it comes back into your turn again, Savage Roars, Mark of the Lotus, etc., 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 really do come into play. But the problem is, you're never going to get too much value off this card unless your opponents have a slew of minions. So decks like Paladin and Shaman, you're going to gain a significant advantage against them, and most likely moving forward, same with Warlock. If they're going back to their zoo roots, you're going to gain some advantage off that. And I think that's kind of a cool thing. But the problem is, as this card becomes a responsive answer to a lot of lower mana cost minion based decks, then you're also going to see the increase of play of, say, Sea Giant as kind of a counterpoint. It's like, okay, well, I have 4 minions on the board. Well, that's okay. Well, I'm going to put 4 minions on the board, and they're all going to have taunts. Like, okay, well, thank you for that. Here comes my Sea Giant at a discounted rate. Have a nice day. So, yeah, it is something, guys. It is something. But whether or not this is going to become a mainstay will all depend on how heavily the meta is going to change. But if token and aggressive decks are still a thing, which most likely they will be, then this card is definitely going to see some play. Moving on, we've got Dead Man's Hand. Okay, so one of my favorite decks from previous metas that I loved playing was Control Warrior with a fatigue base to it. The idea was simple. You outlasted your opponent, and you just sat on a shit ton of armor while they ran out of cards, and there was very little that they could do about it. Now, some people figured out how to kind of get around this, and some of the builds adapted because it became a popular deck. Well, Dead Man's Hand pretty much kind of is putting this back on the table. So you could actually do some really interesting scenarios with Dead Man's Hand, as well as, what's its name? Cold Light Oracle, to really just kind of fuck with your opponents and just outlast them. Personally, I can't wait to get my hands on this card. This is another card that I think is phenomenal. Yeah, it really is. The fact that you can now start looking at having possibly 6 total, if not more, brawls in a deck is just a scary scenario, and you'll never run out of cards, but you could always run them out of cards. I think that's kind of interesting. I really do. Using this in conjunction with things that we've seen like Bring It On and Brawls to kind of completely dismantle your opponent, it's kind of a place where I'm seeing Warrior possibly going to, and I'm going to be trying out a couple interesting builds moving forward with that. But personally, I think this card is good. I do think that this will see play in more control-oriented Warrior decks. Yeah, they do exist, I swear. All right, moving on. We've got Prince Valinar. Okay, so it's a 4-mana, 4/4 legendary battlecry. If your deck has no 4-cost cards, gain lifesteal and taunt. I'm not going to lie, I'm not overly fond of this card. Here's why. It is a 4-mana, 4/4 that can't kill Sen'jin. Oh, but it comes with taunt if you meet this certain condition, and you also get a heal off it. But again, a legendary that doesn't beat Sen'jin for the same cost kind of feels really shitty. That's just me. But it's not horribly bad. It still dies to Fireball. It still dies to quite a few things very easily. But it pretty much shits all over Priest, and I think that's the big takeaway of it. So, I'm probably going to try to make a deck that has all of the princes in it, and it's most likely going to be a Quest Hunter, because that's about the only deck I can viably see working that, but I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see, but it is a cool concept. All right, moving on. We've got Marabi. All right, finally, Trolls. 6-mana, 4/4. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. Okay, so obviously, Frost Shock, well, actually, playing this and Frost Shock will allow you to make a copy of something that they put and freeze whatever they put on the board. That's kind of cool. Now, it was explicitly stated that, yes, you can get copies of this card, okay? You can. It is possible. It is. But you're still going to need a lot more freezing options in the deck in order to kind of make this somewhat viable. But we'll have to wait and see on that. Oh, wait. No, we don't. Because we get Cryostasis. 2 mana, give a minion +3/+3, and freeze it. Okay, there are a lot of scary scenarios where I could see this working to some ungodly measures. And then there's one scenario I see this kind of backfiring, and that's pretty much against anything that is priest. Like, oh, you want to increase that up? Well, I guarantee you that +3 is going to turn anything into I can use my Shadow Word Death on it to kill it. Have a nice day. But, you know, you kind of have to come back to that saying, you know, if you can burn them out of their big removals, then all the other ones that you play later on are going to be relatively safe, in theory. And that is kind of a true statement, but not 100% true, because priests do have ways of recycling. So, yeah. I do like the card. Whether or not it's going to be used outside of a cool gimmick deck, who knows? All right, moving on. We have Eternal Servitude. Okay, so we all remember some of the original Resurrect priests that used to annoy the shit out of people left and right. It's like, well, I got to resurrect my injured Blade Master at full health because the battle cry doesn't count, and blah, 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 blah. I am the greatest thing since sliced bread. Have a nice day. Well, guess what? You can now do that shit again. But you get to discover, which means you get to pick, which is a hell of a lot better than the original Resurrect mechanic was. Being able to select increases the cost of this effect, but it also means you get to pick whatever options are available to you that are more tailor-suited for the situations you might find yourself in. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to enter into a minor skill check for this card. But all in all, I think this is a great card. It's definitely something I see being pretty valuable in, say, like a Quest Priest, which makes a lot of sense since you're using a lot of Death Rattles to begin with. And being able to accelerate to complete that quest earlier kind of makes a lot of sense. All right. Moving on, we've got the Doomed Apprentice. So yeah, it's kind of like, you know, Sorcerer's Apprentice, but evil. It is a 3-mana 3/2. Your opponent's spells cost 1 more. Yeah, that is annoying. It's like, well, I play Sorcerer's Apprentice. Haha, what are you going to do? Well, I play Doomed Apprentice. Haha, what are you going to do? Fuck. Well, they just cancel each other out, to be perfectly honest with you. All right? That's all they do. They just cancel each other out. But most likely, they're going to have to do something to get rid of it. So, it's an interesting concept. Whether or not it's going to be used, probably not. Will it be a pick in Arena? Maybe. Maybe. Alright, and now we get up to the last card of this reveal. And it is a new hero card. It is Frostlich Jaina. 9 mana. Get your typical 5 armors. Battle Cry. Summon a 3/6 water elemental. Your elementals have lifesteal this game. Now, we're talking about the hero, and when you put in an replace your hero, you always get a new hero power. So let's see what the new hero power is. It is Icy Touch. All right. So much like the regular one that mages have, this one deals 1 damage. If this kills a minion, it summons a water elemental. Yeah, guys, so kill this, boom, add more to the board. That's going to come back and heal you. Now, the battle cry itself is actually pretty good, so you have to start thinking about things like Pyros and even, you know, Fireflies start gaining some really interesting and significant value for you. It is feasibly possible to make an elemental deck that also uses outside card builds, i.e., Kabbalist Tome and some of the other lower drop ones that give you random cards into or that you can discover stuff from. You could do that, complete the quest, have this as a way of kind of getting, you know, life to where you get everything set up, and then do the finishing game. It's very convoluted, and the deck archetype for it's going to be a little bit wonky, but for the most part, who knows? This might actually go into a more of a freeze mage with a control variant style to it. That I definitely think is possible. And some people said, okay, well, why wouldn't I just play, you know, Alexstrasza on 9, kill my opponent right then and there? Well, here's the thing. Alexstrasza coming down isn't always a guarantee of winning. If you're ever against a warrior, you know that to be a fucking fact. If you're ever against a druid, you know that to be a fucking fact. Even shamans and paladins can do this as well. So that's a good amount of the meta that Alexstrasza does not guarantee victory. This doesn't guarantee victory either, but it gives you a certain sense of inevitability when combining with some of the other abilities that Mage have. Now, if Mage could somehow get a reduction in cost on this, it might actually be pretty damn good. But as it stands right now, at 9 mana, it feels really, really slow and a little bit clunky. So, kind of have to wait and see what some of the meta builds are going to be. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for the cards this episode. So, as per usual, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Which cards are you really interested about? Which ones do you think are shit? Let me know what you thought of the legendaries and the new hero. Alright, I want to hear all your thoughts. And as usual, people, if you like these videos, please like, subscribe, upvote, all that fun stuff. It really does help, and, you know, I appreciate it. Anyway, till next time, this is Shiv saying, stay safe, have fun, and may RNGs bless you. I'm out.